Well, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folani. I hope you had a great weekend. Okay, our guest this morning is Honorable Muhammad Jamo Yusuf, OON. He joins us from our Abuja studio. He is the special advisor to the Kano State Governor, Alhaji Abba Kabiru Yusuf, special advisor on national and international matters, as well as public relations. A fine morning to you, Honorable Jamo.
You and good morning to our beautiful viewers out there.
Indeed, indeed. Thank you very much. Now, quite a hefty topic that we have this morning, because we're talking about education, and in particular, education at a foundational level, I would imagine, but then you would talk to us a bit more about that. At a fair in Kano, on study in Europe, that was the occasion upon which His Excellency the Governor, speaking through his deputy, had, intimated the public with the fact that there were over 1 million, just around 1 million out-of-school children in Kano, and this is indeed a big challenge. Now, as I said, the matter came out this time around because it's been a long-standing issue, but it came out this time around at the Study in Europe Fair. So first of all, maybe you could tell me about that, because clearly there are other parts of the citizenry that are at a sufficiently advanced level to be able to study. That will be further studies in Europe. But the governor was particular in mentioning out-of-school children. So I'll take it that he meant the rudimentary, the elementary stage, the primary school. Maybe you could give us a bit more clarity over that mentioning by the governor of over 1 million students, 1 million children in Kano being out of school.
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. Even before the governor said, I am sure over the years we have had the National Bureau of Statistics given a lot of statistics about how the Northwest in particular has a very large number of out-of-school children. If we can put it, we can even say that largest number of out-of-school children, if we are going to look at it region by region across the country, the Northwest is leading with a larger number of out-of-school children. So even in Kano, we have a chunk of it, Kano being the most populous, arguably, city in Nigeria. And even in the north, the most populous city, there is no argument over there. So we have a large number of out-of-school children, definitely more than 1 million out-of-school children. But I leave it at that. I don't know what your next question is, and then we can be able to talk about it.
Okay, maybe, of course, it's a burden. It's a burden on the government and people of Kano, but the governor, it is known that in a corporate way, everything possible is being done about it. So maybe the thing to do is find out how we arrived at, because it wouldn't have been an overnight affair. So maybe by way of, you've just given us a general overview of the North generally, and being the most populous state, Kano being the most populous state, we have this figure. How did it get progressively the way it is till we now are mentioning this figure? And we just hope that it won't go up.
Well, governance is all about priorities. And if we are going to talk about how it come to where we are today, when we look at it from, probably we say from when we got independence till date, we have had several governors who have governed Kano. But it's all about the priority of the governors, the leadership, the people at the helms of affairs, the community leaders and things like that. It's all about what they prioritized. But I can tell you, because a lot of times so many people have come into the position of authority, and I think they have portrayed a nonchalant attitude towards this issue. It becomes a very big and heavy burden that we are now living with. So it's a thing that have accumulated over the time, but to God be the glory, this current government now is coming in to face this task head on. And thank God too that this current government is an offshoot of another government, which 8 years ago, when Governor Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso then was in office, he has done quite a lot in trying to see that he assuage those issues of trying to get more of the younger generation back to school and things like that. And it's now another government that is an offshoot of what has happened 8 years ago, and the current governor is trying to continue. And we have already rolled out quite a large number of programs that we can be able to say in the next 4 years, we have a well planned out strategy that we can get more and more children back into the school. And I'm telling you, it's going to be something that we can conquer and get the story changed to a state where it's having less number of out-of-school children.
Okay. Okay, then. Now, I imagine, and maybe we'll also talk about that, the infrastructure that is going to be necessary for the figure that we're talking about is it's going to be quite substantial. But I'm sure you must have conducted a study. So when we say generally about 1,000 out-of-school children, what are the age ranges? Because there's the temptation to look at it and think of it as people who should enter school that have not entered school. But if that happens this year, it happens next year, it happens the year after, then you have children of varying ages that are out of school, right up to maybe children of secondary school age. And then when you look at the infrastructure that, and you've just told us that it's a matter of priority. When you look at the infrastructure that's going to be necessary to dent that kind of a worrying figure, what are the calculations? Because you've just said that you are confident, nobody's resting on their oars, and so something substantial is going to be done. It's a humongous task, isn't it? And then when you look, what are the dangers of not being able to address this situation appropriately when you have people, quote unquote, roaming around, not being in school, virile youth?
Okay, let me start by the latter that you just mentioned now. When you have a large number of out-of-school children roaming around the street, what does it become? It becomes nothing but a keg of gunpowder. And I can tell you, those nonchalant attitude by several leaders in the past who do not care about trying to right all these wrongs, part of the reasons that got us to where we are today, whereby we are being faced headlong by banditry, the Boko Haram, and several other issues in the northern part of the country. But I can tell you, when we look at what we have on the ground now in the area of infrastructure, once His Excellency Abba Kabir Yusuf came into office, his first priority from day one, in fact, before he came into office, let me tell you this clearly, that Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf was voted in 2019. Unfortunately, he didn't make it to office, and voted again in 2023. Unfortunately, now he made it to office on just one thing. A lot of people in Kano believe the main focal policy of his administration and what he has been campaigning over is all about education. And the beauty about it, when you move around during campaigns, you see a lot of young boys and girls carrying placards and saying, take me to Harvard, take me to Massachusetts, take me to Oxford. They want to go around the world. They want to be educated. They want to be at par with all the amazing, wonderful young people around the world who are changing the tide of what the world is today. So that is the main basis why they voted him into office. And now that he is into office, his main campaign promise is to right those wrongs. So in the area of infrastructure, I can remember once he came into office, the first official visit that he made as governor was to visit the UBEC, the Universal Basic Education Commission, whereby he met with the head of that office so that they can be able to partner. Because as state government, they have what they can be. As state government, there is what the government can be able to do with the paucity of funds. So you need definitely all agencies at the federal level who are charged with more funds that can be able to support in the area of development of those infrastructures. And the governor met with UBEC, and I'm sure agreements have been reached whereby a lot of funds from the state government and the federal government can be able to be injected in building more classrooms. Because now, one of the challenges we're already facing, the government has come into place, and people are confident that education can be right. So a lot of parents are taking back their kids back to school. So we are faced with a large number of pupils in a class with less teachers, and to do that, so we have to build more classrooms, because those classrooms are what can be able to give us comfort so that we can meet the UNESCO target, whereby we can have a particular number of kids in a class and a particular number of kids that a certain teacher can be able to teach. So that is one area we are looking at, and I'm telling you already, now the state government has given contract for renovation of existing structures, because we have to put the existing structures back into work so that they can be able to be well accommodating and conducive, and become a conducive place whereby the young pupils can be able to be taught before we start building the new classrooms too. And then after building the new classrooms, I can tell you that already the state government has approved for the employment of 20,000 well-trained teachers, so that we can be able to make sure that we have enough qualified teachers that can be able to help us to face the task of giving quality educations to these young pupils. And then another thing we are even looking at is we are trying to make sure that at the end of the day, one desk per one pupil, one desk. Because now you can go to a classroom and see one desk and you're having 5, 6, 7 pupils all around it. So at the end of the day, you have to have some of them even on the ground, on the ground trying to write. That's not conducive enough. The educational sector has so been bastardized. I'm not here to talk about what others have been able to do in bastardizing it, but I'm just here to tell you more about what we intend to do in righting those wrongs. So this is part of what the state government is already looking into, and I'm sure with this infrastructure put in place, with more teachers being employed, and then by more motivating the parents and the pupils to go to school, I am sure we will start being on the journey of trying to right those wrongs that have been done over the years.
Now, since you even spoke about it, because actually, I had said that this information, even though it will be well known to the professionals concerned, it was upon the occasion that when it got reported in the press of a study in Europe fair. Now, clearly, that is aimed at other types of students, which immediately tells us that there are different categories of youth in there that need to be addressed differently. Clearly, the study in Europe fair will be looking, I imagine, at more advanced students who were not challenged in terms of their earlier education. They would have to be qualified, I would imagine. So tell me about that juxtaposition, because clearly there's a university in Kano, so there are advanced students. It's just that the number, when you look at the 1 million out of school, will be microscopic. But tell me about the siting of that fair, that EU program, Study in Europe Fair in Kano.
The issue of the study in Europe Fair that was done in Kano is just one of what we intend doing in the area of partnership with the international community in areas whereby we can be able to right so many wrongs in the area of the education. But let me just tell you another brief background so that you can understand something that we have been doing. Let me cite one example to you. I can remember, because I've told you that this current government is an offshoot of a former government. So I can tell you in 2011, when that first government was coming into office, let me tell you what we faced at that time, which is part of what has broadened our horizon on what we intend to do now as we go forward. We were having like an induction as we are about to go into the government at that time. And then we had the Vice Chancellor then, Professor Rashid, who was just the gentleman that resigned from the National University Commission recently. That time he was the Vice Chancellor of Bayero University. and then he came to address us. And then he was citing a challenge that he was facing. Bayero University, Kano, has opened its portal and it wanted to accommodate and give admission to intending students who wanted to get admitted into the Bayero University at that time. And they received at that year in 2011, 65,000 applications for young boys and girls that wanted to go into the Bayero University. And that 65,000 persons, I'm telling you, are just from Kano, not from even other states. And the only position the Bayero University Kano can be able to accommodate is nothing but about 4,000 at that particular year. And that was why at that time we were left with no option but to address another major area. That was why the Northwest University in Kano was implemented at that particular year, because so that we can assuage what Bayero University Kano cannot be able to accommodate in the area of giving admission, we can be able to give admission to them at the Northwest University. Already the Kano State University of Science and Technology was still part of the offshoot of what the same administration has been able to do. So now we have the Kano State University of Science and Technology, we have the Northwest University, we have the Bayero University, and we have all universities across the north and southern part of the country. But there is a quota of the number of young boys and girls that all those universities can be able to accommodate. So we decided to open the horizon and give opportunities and scholarship for intending students from either from Kano State who want to study, and they have done very well. Those who have big talents, they have passed with flying colors. So just to motivate the ones coming up, and then the state government decided to open up a vista of opportunity for these young boys and girls to go to the first Ivy League universities around the world, to go and study everywhere you want to go around the world.
I beg your pardon. We're just getting, thank you very much, Honorable. One moment. I've got to take a break away from this for a moment. We're getting a breaking news of flash. And so let... Okay, now, developments from Rivers State, as 24 of the 32 members of the State Assembly have signed an impeachment notice against Governor Siminalayi Fubara. The lawmakers also impeached the House Leader Edison Ehie and 4 other lawmakers whom they believe are responsible for the arson in the Assembly complex last night.
Noted.
Although the Rivers Police Command took control of the complex after the fire, the situation took a different turn this morning as tear gas was fired in the complex amidst the ongoing crisis. Well, in reaction to the impeachment notice, Governor Fubara has described the action as null and void. The governor says even as the chief security officer of the state, he was tear-gassed, and the security of the state is compromised. He insists that he has done nothing to warrant an impeachment.
We have gone to the assembly to see for ourselves what has happened. On my way there, I was shot at directly by the OC operation. If Siminalayi Fubara is impeached, I am not the first, neither will I be the last. But what is important is any attempt that is not justified will be resisted. Let them come out and tell the people of Rivers State that offense that Fubara committed that is warranting impeachment.
The governor of Rivers State there, Siminalayi Fubara. There will be, developments as we proceed in the day on the news bulletins. Now to return to our program and our guest there, Honorable Mohammed Jamo Yusuf, OON. We just took a break from there, coming back to, Special Advisor to the Kano State Government. And he's been telling us about developments in the education sector. Okay, thank you very much for talking to us about the advanced level aspect of it. Now, when people talk about a large number of out-of-school children, I wonder, is it entirely out of education? By this, I mean that it is known that in the North, there also is an aspect of education that is almost equally as important as the Western education, talking about Quranic education. So I don't know if a distinction needs to be made that, look, it's not as if people are not getting any education at all. It might not. It's just that perhaps it isn't the wholesomeness that has been planned, where Quranic religious education is going side by side with Western education. Could you also clear that up?
Okay, thank you so much. And yeah, most of the times when the statistics are being taken about education, usually the concentration is more about the Western education. But what we intend doing now, we are trying to look equally into those areas of education. Already the federal government has set up an agency which is called the NBAIS, the National Board for Islamic and Quranic Education and things like that, which can be able to give opportunity for those who have learned the Islamic concept of education to be able to go further for further education at the university level and things like that. So even now in the state, at the state level, we are looking at that particular aspect. That is why already now in the state, we have called all those who have been able to learn the Quran at heart and they know the teachings and the jurisprudence of Islam from that perspective, so that they can equally be given opportunities to even get scholarships to go to countries whereby there are already laid down rules and procedure that can be able to give them opportunity from learning the Quran to be able to go straight to the university where they can further their education. So it's a mix of all that. But I'm telling you, despite the number of people too that we have who have had some certain level at the Islamic level, and then those two who have had a certain level of understanding within the Western style of education too. Despite that, I can still tell you that we still have a very large number. The number still remains very large for those who still need to be properly educated, and there are still a very large number of people who are out of school and can be categorized as out of school children. So we are looking at it holistically from all those perspectives, so we can be able to give them a new leash of life. That is why the state government has already introduced another new policy to encourage enrollment into the schools, whereby the state government is now going to give free sets of uniforms, free sets of books, and apart from the free sets of uniform and free sets of books, the school feeding program, that is another area to encourage parents who maybe cannot even afford to give their kids the food to go to school with, so the state government is going to take and cater for that particular aspect too, because this is one focal point which we want this government to be remembered for.
Indeed. Okay, Honorable Mohammed Jamo Yusuf, we'll take a break now. Please stay with us. We'll be right back to continue this conversation and take your calls.
Every week, Green Angle, in partnership with Wild Aid, will bring you a documentary series on environmental issues affecting Nigeria's amazing biodiversity, from climate change, air pollution, and wildlife conservation. We will be traveling across Nigeria to give you on-the-ground report of the issues affecting our environment. It airs every Saturday at 4:30 p.m. only on TVC News.
Politics is defined as getting what, where, when, and how. But in the mix, many things come to play to shape the political fortune of any country.
Honorable Minister, how you misinform the public?
From the political actors to the electorate, campaign to voting, from debates to policy decisions, big events happen to engage us in constant conversation.
That's what we're looking for. Not some people who are talking about ethnicity. No.
Who is on your mind?
Don't worry.
Join me every day on Politics Tonight, where we dissect issues that shape our political destiny. Politics Tonight, weekdays on TVC News.
Okay, welcome back. And just a few moments earlier, we brought you a breaking news of from River State, where 24 out of the 32 members of the State House of Assembly have signed an impeachment notice against the governor there, Fubura. And lawmakers have also impeached the House Leader, Edison Ehie, and 4 other lawmakers whom they believe are responsible for the arson in the complex last night. The police command has taken control of the complex after the fire, but the situation has taken a different turn this morning as tear gas was fired in the complex amidst the ongoing crisis. The governor has reacted to the impeachment notice. Governor Siminalayi Fubura described the exercise as null and void. The governor says even as the chief security officer of the state, he was tear gassed, and the security of the state has been compromised. That's according to the governor. He insists he has done nothing wrong to warrant such an impeachment. Details will follow in our subsequent bulletins. Okay, and back to this morning on TVC, where our guest is the special advisor to the Kano State Governor on national and international as well as public relations, talking about Honorable Mohammed Jamo Yusuf, OON. We're talking about the education challenge in Kano State. It's really a challenge of the North generally, but then being the most populous state in the North, Kano has its fair share of worry, and we've been hearing of plans and intentions of the government. We just spoke, just before going on that break, we spoke about the fact that in the North, generally, there's a specialized education, Quranic and religious education, and the special advisor has given us to understand that even having made allowances for that, there still is an unacceptably high number of students that are out of school. Okay, so continuing from there, you just gave the impression of the seriousness of purpose, but it also has to be admitted that this is a long-standing problem. Now, I wonder, you're going to want the buy-in. You're going to want the buy-in of all, and the parents are probably going to be key in this. We've heard of some other areas, some jurisdictions where the parents themselves are conscripted into the effort and under, threat of sanction if they do not see to it that their children are in school. In other words, yes, the parents are the parents and the kids are the kids, but if you sort of give any succor or allow for youths to, not comply with this noble effort to put them in school, the parents would know that they have some measure of responsibility as well. Is Kano able to go that far in the drive to putting kids to school? Because if you put that on the ground, I expect the next level will be, so, okay, we'll send them to school, but where are the schools? So there's this challenge in there.
Yeah, I agree with you. But let me tell you one beautiful thing that I have noticed over the years now. Well, in the past, we have this challenge across the North whereby you see some parents finding it awkward, not even in the North, I think all across the country or everywhere around the world, there are instances and places where it has happened, where you see parents not too comfortable with allowing their kids to go to school. Maybe they prefer, if they are peasant farmers, for those kids to go to the farm, or maybe if they are palm wine tappers or whatever, let them go and do it. But the scenario and everything has changed. The world has evolved now and things have changed. People have seen over the years how the kids of nobody have suddenly become somebody now in the society. And the only barrier of any young man who is a nobody becoming somebody is that lack of education. So a lot of parents have seen the light in that perspective. And I'm telling you now, you don't even need to go the way of putting laws or coercion or any other means to get parents to allow their kids to go to school. Parents are eager and interested to have them in school.
So most are on board. Okay, let me bring in Reverend Dominic, who has called in. Good morning to you, Reverend Dominic.
Good morning, Chief Buhari. Good morning to your guest.
Yes. Go ahead, please.
Buhari, I said this because education is a challenge throughout Nigeria. And number two, Buhari, I have listened to your guest carefully. We have not referred to the government that just left a few months ago on what they did. We know in our nation here, the bane of governance here is incontinuity. Is it telling the whole world, I'm not in Kano, I'm in Lagos, that the government that has been there for 8 years did nothing for infrastructure, for education, that they did nothing? We have been listening to him referring to 2011, not 2015, not 2016, not 2017. As long as every time we change government, Chief Buhari, the last government that was there did nothing, and the new government starts afresh, there will be no progress. I understand the emotion of the man speaking. Whether it's in Imo, whether it's in Lagos, whether it's in Kano, what makes Lagos today wonderful is that after one government built a thing, maybe to a particular level of foundation, and not government take it from there. That's the only way how you make progress. Are you trying to say for 8 years of government, of the last government, I'm not part of it, that all the budgets in education was nothing, that the man is spending to 2011? All I'm concerned is about continuity. Whether this man is right or wrong, there must be continuity in governance for which to make progress. But the money is not a personal money. The money is Kano State money. Is it telling everybody that the last 8 years government did nothing for education? Is it what you're trying to say? And if it's yes, it's unfortunately, but I don't believe so. Good morning, Chibiani.
Well, thank you very much, Reverend Dominic. Honorable Jamal Yusuf, a sort of a bit of an angry Reverend Dominic, because there's a set of viewers who call in frequently who are, you can call them educationists. They're very passionate when it comes to education. Now, he was speaking about the baton, relay aspect of governance. And I guess what he's wondering is, why is it that there isn't something perhaps to continue with, because government, we know, it's now become a cliche, is a continuum. So if everybody keeps on chipping in, how come the problem is not diminishing? Is the frustrating question. Maybe you've given part of the answer, but it's a frustrating question. You've given part of the answer.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I can say something about it. Reverend Dominic, the society becomes better when we have people like you who can be able to call in and maybe try to draw our attention to one thing or the other that we do not say. So I'm so proud of your question and what you try to draw my attention to. Well, Reverend Dominic and other people who share the same opinion with Reverend Dominic, when I started, I said this government is an offshoot of a government that ended in 2015, that started in 11 and ended in 15. So that was why I decided to concentrate most about what I was saying to that particular time. But if we are to talk about infrastructure and things that happened with the administration that we took over from, then I will tell you, I don't want to dabble into that, because if we are talking about education and what the state government is doing, when I have to come and start talking about what that government has done and what the government do not do, it will divert the topic that we are talking about. But let me just mention one or two things that the last government did. Let me talk about one. We had a university, the Kano State University of Science and Technology, which had one of its campuses in the center of Kano in a place which was called Daula. So let me tell you, that state government at that particular time, they drove all the students from that place, they drove them away, and they gave the land and all the building to some people who were interested to develop a shopping mall. So a whole university was demolished and a shopping mall was established there. That is part of what the government did in its 8 years. And I can tell you the Kano State College of Education, the Kano State Polytechnic is another instance whereby within the walls, the four walls of that Kano State Polytechnic, the Kano State government decided, or the Kano State government of that time, decided to give out lands to people to come and develop houses in that particular area, whereby students now, if they want to go to their classes, they want to go to the tech labs, they want to go to any other places, they have to be passing through houses of people, which is not conducive for education. If I want to tell you more, I can tell you that government is a government whereby basically almost all the primary schools that are living in Kano, the walls of those primary schools were given to private developers to develop shopping malls around those primary schools. And when we move around to take the stock, what do? These shops were provided at the walls of those primary schools, and the funds the state government gets, they do not use them to improve the infrastructure of those schools and a lot more. So if we want to talk about what that government has done in the area of education, it will take me more than 24 hours explaining a lot of things that have happened at that time. But I was not invited here to talk about what the government that passed did in the area of education. So I would rather concentrate about what the government of Kano State now, under His Excellency Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf, is doing to enhance and improve the living standard of education of Kano people, that we can be able to make it a role model for all other states around the northwest, around northern Nigeria, and in Nigeria particularly, so that it can become a role model that every other state will want to copy. So thank you so much, Reverend Dominic, for your question. Maybe one day we can meet again on this platform, and then we can be able to talk about what the former government did. Thank you.
Okay. Honorable Jamo Yusuf, OON, grievous charges there. We'll leave it at that. Mazi Okoroafo, calling in from Arochukwu. Good morning to you, sir, and thank you for holding on.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, I guess. Mazi Okoroafo from Arochukwu. You see, when we talk about out of school, I start laughing out of school. We are giving UNESCO and the rest, that's 25, It's wrong. What we have, recorded is over 45 million Nigerian children out of school. Now, how do we tackle this? One, parents will call their code according to their size. Stop depending on government. Look at your income and decide within you, the madam and oga, how many children can you afford to cater for, either one or two. Not to depend on it, because 90%, so between 80 to 90% of Nigeria depends on government. That is why you see all these things that we see happen every day. See many talking right now as we are talking now, right now. Send a reporter to go down all the 36 states to see how many children that are hawking, which is not healthy for our development. Now, we should try as much as possible the educational system we are giving these children to be skilled, acquired, not go into the school, carry, go, collect certificate, and disappear. No. If a child from that basic education, that's from primary to J3, before he or she leaves school, he has acquired one particular skill. I think it will help our system to move forward. But this issue of collect certificate and disappear doesn't make sense. Now look at Nigerian university students when they finish NYSC, many of them. You are not supposed to look for a job. Every day we give a statistics report of Singapore, Malaysia, America. No. We should come back home. We have all it takes to move our educational system. That is to say, our school system, if we want to make sure that we have qualified people to be our administrators to manage our school system, not to bring anybody from just come and sit down. No. If we continue doing that, we are not going to do it. There are a lot of skills. Look at the Center for Management, look at ITF, and Go there, they have different types of schema. The same thing as to be into our own curriculum. So when a child is school, that from that basic is when we talk about university, he or she will be independent. I hate to see children still depending on their mother, begging for scrap. Your mother or father will give you car. You start doing about it. You see that every month say, "Mommy, mom." No. You show mom, dad, you should say bye-bye to that. Let the child be skilled, acquire that from the primary. Good morning.
Good morning, Mazi Okorafo, and thank you for calling in. Honorable Mohammed, back to your last sort of rejoinder to, the caller, Reverend Dominic. There are quite a number of things in there. We didn't have the other side, but none of the things that you enumerated could have been said to have been helpful in terms of advancing the cause of education in Kano State. In fact, they're so grievous that it boggles the mind, the way you stated it, that look, if what is a public trust is actually, as you said, been carved up and, passed on to private interests, that boggles the mind, quite frankly. But as I said, we didn't have the other people, the people who served in that administration that might have given some clarity as to, because it just, as I said, it boggles the mind. Were alternatives provided somewhere? Because everybody knows that we've had this problem for a long-standing period. So you can't take what is available and not make any alternatives. But as I said, we just didn't have the other side. And if there is any, if there's a wish for the other people who served in that administration to make any clarifying statements, we'd be more than happy to take them on and hear from them. We have someone else on the who else do we have who wants to come in?
Hello?
Good morning, Mr. George. Good morning, yes. Mr. George.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Yeah.
Uncle Yori, please permit me to continue from where Reverend Dominic stopped.
Sure.
The events in Kano is a bit worrisome. The people of any state or any constituency are only interested in governance, not necessarily who is providing the governance. There is need for continuity. The current state governor came in and started demolishing all the structures of the previous governor. Those structures were not meant for the governor, for the previous governor as a person, but for the Kano people. And he says he's not interested. The spokesperson of the governor here is saying he's not interested in talking about what the previous government did, but only what the current. Is it not government of Kano people and for Kano State? Continuity should not be discarded. If you are a governor and you don't want to have anything to do with your predecessor's work, you are also bound to fail, because tomorrow another government will come and do the same thing to what you have provided. And if that is done, it is the people that will suffer at the end of the day. Let us be tolerant. Even the NNPP government in Kano, within a few months, the leader of the party, the Punk Council that the spokesperson is talking about, the governor is not in good terms with him. All these things can affect governors and the people of Kano State. There should be tolerance in the interest of progress and development of the state.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for calling in. But if I understood our guest properly, he can speak for himself. He had said he didn't want to take it into a political arena. He wanted to sort of limit himself to educational matters, such as they are now. But to go in there, he indicated that we didn't have even the time to hear him, and that he didn't want it to degenerate into a political sort of a brickbat. But as I said, you can speak for yourself, Honorable Mohammed Jamo Yusuf.
Thank you so much. I do not really get the name of the last person that called, but the man
George in Lagos.
Okay. So let me talk. He made a very interesting point, because he said he's taken over from what the Reverend said. Okay, it's not like we are shying or I'm shying away from talking about what the other administration did. And I quite agree that government is a continuity, that in Nigeria, from 1960 till date, if we have been able to have had government that we're able to continue from where former government stops, that is a very good thing to always continue, because not continuing what another government started is what has left us in around the country now with a lot of white elephant projects that have been started and were not ably completed. But let me tell you one thing. He made mention of when the current governor came, he did nothing but just went ahead and went into the area of demolition things in Kano State. Okay, let me just in a very short while give him a little response to that. The governor did not just come to demolish things in the state. During the campaign processes, the governor made it clear that when he comes into office, if Kano people agree to vote for him into office, he is going to right the wrongs in the area of distortion of the Kano State Master Plan that has taken place. And one of that, I have already mentioned it, the Kano State University of Science and Technology, which was an existing university with more than 1,500 students in that campus, and their lecturers and the non-academic staffs, they were there enjoying their lectures, going home. It was easier. It was within the city metropolitan with a very cheap amount of money. They can come to study and then go back. But the previous administration, when they came in, they demolished the university and they gave it out to build a shopping mall in that particular place. That shopping mall was what the governor came in and demolished and said he is reverting it back to a university. Tell me, if you are the governor, the distinguished gentleman that called, an institution of learning that today we are complaining about out-of-school children was demolished by a government, and then you decided to come back and say, no, I do not agree with the shopping mall. We are going to demolish this back and return it to a university. That was what the governor demolished. The other area of demolition that has happened was the College of Education, whereby within the four walls of the College of Education, the previous administration gave lands for individuals to come and build private houses within a college, within the Kano State Polytechnic. And the governor decided, no, that cannot happen. And he demolished it. That was why it was demolished. The other area was the Eid praying ground, a historical Eid praying ground, whereby for more than 500 years, that is where the Kano people used to go and worship. It's a holy, sacred place where we go to worship during the Salah festivities. And it is like a muster point, because it is within, close to the densely populated Kano city. It's like a muster point. In case of any disaster, which we do not pray for, that place can be a muster point where people can come and shelter. But what happened? The previous administration decided to convert the place into shopping malls. And that was part of what the government then, what the current government went to demolish and reverted it to what it was before. An Eid praying ground where people can come and pray, and equally to convert it back to our muster point. The other place that was demolished was the Kano City Wall, a historical place, which I can remember even UNESCO has termed the Kano City Wall a part of the World Heritages of Recognition. And I recall the German government invested a lot of money in Kano State to build part of the wall back. I have had instances whereby a lot of foreign visitors have come into Kano State. And the first thing they will ask you is, where is the Kano Wall? So this particular Kano Wall was what the previous administration went, demolished, gave lands to people to build on those places. Historical places. Where on earth can a place be termed by UNESCO as one of your heritage, and then you will convert it to a shopping mall? That was part of what the state government went and said they will demolish. Why must we have shopping malls everywhere? Is it shopping malls that are the problems of Kano State? We have markets everywhere around Kano State. And market, the governor Abba Kabir Yusuf did not go to any market, existing market which was designated as a market, to demolish it. He did not go to anybody's house and say this is somebody's house and say he wants to demolish it. This is a school institution within an institution. Will you go and build a house in a college of education or a polytechnic? Will you go to where a university is and convert that university to a shopping mall? Is that the right thing to do? Will you go to a mosque or a church and say, no, bring it down and say you want to convert it to a shopping mall? Is that done so? Haba, okay. Come on.
Honorable Mohammed, I thank you very much I guess this is what you were saying that you feared. You didn't want it to go into a political arena. You wanted to limit yourself to education. But since it was brought up, you have found yourself in a position where you've had to air your impressions in that regard. And as I said, there's nobody from the former administration here, but they probably are hearing this. And should they contact us, we'd be happy to hear from them against the backdrop of the things that you have explained and that you've had to do right, and also the criticisms that you have made as to what they might have been thinking in going that way, if indeed they were for the development and the educational development of Kano State. So we've used up all the time, but let me just register a special thanks to you, Honorable Mohammed Jamo Yusuf, OON, for coming on our program and sharing with us some of those aspirations of the incumbent administration to take on this question of education in Kano State and having over 1 million children out of school. Thank you very much for coming on our program. Okay, so that's our program. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folani. Bye-bye for now.